Hey ladies, how are you guys doing? I will wait and see if I have a few people joining me today. If not, I'll just go along with the message and people will catch the replay. But I do see a few of you guys coming in. I know it's an odd time. Some of you are probably just coming home from work and so on. So I know most of you will probably catch the replay. But yes, I will wait just a minute or two, a couple of more minutes before getting started. But hi Christian. Hello. I am actually making this video because I saw Tangerine. I hope I'm not butchering her name still. But I saw her post about feeling really ugly, or not even ugly. I don't think that she called herself ugly. She said that she felt like a boy and she didn't really feel attractive. She didn't really feel cute. She didn't really feel at her best. And the reason being is because she is actually in the beginning of her lock journey. And, you know, I believe she expressed that she would prefer either long locks right now or really short, straight hair right now. But this whole in-between or short lock situation is just not the move, okay? So that's basically what I got when I came across her post. Hey, Stephanie. So I saw that a lot of you shared a lot of your ups and downs from the beginnings of your lock journey in the post, and I also shared mine. I shared a picture. It's like the first few months of my FREEFORM lock journey, and boy, oh my goodness, what a journey. Even when I look back, because it's been a while since I actually looked back. So for me, I just wanted to at least offer a little encouragement and maybe some advice when going through those stages, because I've most definitely went through those stages, and those beginning stages are the first year of locking, whether you are free-forming or whether you're rocking the cultivated locks. Whatever it is, you're going to go through a process. You're not going to get away from the process if you're locking your hair. You can have the neatest parts, you can have salon done locks and all of that, but those are not locks, those are twists. Those are coils, I should say. When those joints start actually locking, there's a process. Hey, Ujo, there's an actual process. There's budding that happens. There's shrinkage. There's frizz. There's all kinds of things. So I don't care if you're leaving the salon and you just got your startup locks and you're just like, oh yeah, these are cute. That right there. You may change your perspective based on the natural process of your hair actually locking. Casey, 3 months locked. Glad you ladies started talking about this. Yes, Casey, yes. Sorry, my phone rang. Hi, Eliza. So, yeah, let's talk about this process, because I know quite a few of you in here are indeed locked, such as Casey, Ujo, and I believe some of you are actually thinking about beginning a lock journey or starting a lock journey. So some of you might find this helpful specifically for locking. Even if you're not, there may be some things that you actually get from this, because it's pretty universal in the message. Hi, Diamond. You've been thinking about locking? Okay. Listen, it's when you lock your hair, or when you make the decision to lock your hair, it's usually the decision, basically the decision-making process is not a halfway process. definitely. Like every other hairstyle, even cutting your hair is less permanent, I should say, than locking. And the reason why I say that is because if you make that decision to cut your hair drastically and then you find yourself not really feeling it or digging it, there are definitely other alternatives to to camouflage as you go through the process and get to a length that is more desirable for you in style. So there are still ways, weaves, wigs, we got them, right? But when you're locking, you may be able to put some extensions in. It depends. I believe Tangeray, she had extensions in her hair, but it's still not the same. So when you make a decision to lock your hair, you are making a decision. And I'm just going to share a little bit about my personal lock journey. Some of you have already followed my journey, but I'm here to refresh that message. So basically, I have been locked for almost 3 years now. Isn't that crazy? It's been almost 3 years for me. September 16th, my birthday, will be 3 years of being locked. So I am almost halfway there. So I'm like 2.5 years in. June will be like, no. Oh, I'm already at 2.5 years, right? I think so. So I'm at 2.5 years, I believe. 2.5 years locked. I am, yes, Bria, almost 3 years. So, I decided to freeform lock my hair. So the locks that you see here are all freeformed from my afro. Okay, I did not start off if you were to see my parts, you will see how totally crooked they are. Okay, so I did not, none of these locks came from any kind of manipulation whatsoever in the beginning stages. So when I first decided to lock my hair, it was 2016. I was actually in Costa Rica for a little while when I actually made my decision to do so. I was in Costa Rica. I came home, and when I came home from that trip, I instantly, I was ready. I was ready to lock my hair, but I didn't know how I wanted to lock my hair. I didn't even realize that there was freeforming. I didn't even knew that existed. I mean, I knew on a level of, hey, I know there's like Rastafari and, their locks look different usually than locks that I usually see. But that's pretty much as far as it went in really knowing. I didn't even realize that was an actual choice. I was so ignorant to the whole locking process, but I knew that I wanted to do that. So I was looking at different styles. I was just like, trying to size out my locks, what kind of locks, medium, large, small, sister locks. So I was going through that process and making my decision. And I stumbled on YouTube yet again, just like how I started my, my curly hair journey and became a YouTuber and influencer through that journey. It is the same process with freeforming. I happened to stumble across a freeform video, and I was very intrigued by the process of freeforming. I didn't even consider this. So I started watching the videos, going down a freeform rabbit hole. Actually, based on just the videos that I was watching, what I noticed is that there were a lot of men, more so at least online, that was, freeforming, talking about freeforming. It was very rare to find a woman freeformer, at least online for me, like 3 years ago. So I was watching a lot of men talk about their freeform locks. And what I noticed is that there was just a lot of, I have slightly looser curl, a looser curl texture, looser curl pattern, I should say, not texture. I know better. I know the difference. So slightly looser curl pattern than what I was seeing on video. So I still didn't know if freeforming was for me, because these people that I was watching, they had a tightly coiled pattern, a kinkier pattern. no texture. We all know the difference between texture and pattern are worlds apart, and we've been using the word texture so wrong and so out of place. That's why people have been so confused in hair care because they're using texture instead of pattern. Just because we have the similar curl pattern does not mean that our texture is the same. I may have fine hair, you may have thicker strands, and so on. So pattern and texture completely different. So I noticed that, you know, they had tightly coiled hair. So I said, you know, well, freeforming is for that. Like, freeforming is for the tightly coiled. And I'm a little jealous because I actually want to do this, but I don't know if my hair is going to really lock in that way without being manipulated somehow. And then I came across this guy's video who had the same exact pattern and sort of kind of texture based on what I can see. I saw his videos, and he was like consistent in his documentation of his journey from the very beginning to like 3 to 4 years in, straight consistent with his YouTube videos. So I just binge watched his journey. And when I did that, that's when I made my final decision after watching his entire journey, binge watching. I was just like, ooh, I can do this. And then I started seeing more women actually start talking about freeforming, and they had there was some looser curl textures, patterns in there as well. So I became more confident in beginning my journey. So when I made the decision, I got a little scared. So not really scared. I kind of went back on my decision to freeform, and I decided to semi-freeform. And this was like sometime in August 2016. So I said, I'm going to semi-freeform. So I did a twist out, and then I took the twist out, and then I said, I'm going to allow my hair to lock from this twist out. When I decided to do that, I was so excited about locking my hair that I was just so impatient. Like, okay, lock already. What's going on? It's literally been 3 days. Where's my locks? Like, I was very impatient, very excited, very eager. And due to that eagerness, and let me go back for a second because I am bringing a message in here about reflection and hair, because it's a big deal. Because let me tell you, your hair journey or your hair, and it's a direct reflection of your inner growth. Whether you recognize that or not, it is. Trust and believe. Your hair says a lot about you and where you stand internally, whether it's mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It's like pieces of all of that inner worldness. It is reflected in your hair. So you can tell a lot about a person. So for instance, Mike's cousin, for instance, she is so versatile. Like, she will have a weave in one day, she'll have her natural hair out another day, she'll completely shave her hair, then she'll put a bunch of colors in it, then she'll put some braids in it, she'll go back to the weave, and then she'll just go back to being natural. So based on that, I can already tell, like, wow, she loves to switch it up. She's pretty confident in doing that. It doesn't seem like she's attached to a specific look. It seems that she's very free-flowing and free-spirited based on how she chooses to wear her hair. She wears her hair like she wears her clothes. And a person who does that, you can just, it says a lot about their personalities, especially as well. Then you may have that woman who, she's been twisting her hair for like 5 or 6 years. She's never worn it out in an afro. She's always, and then when her hair is twisted, it's probably up in an updo. And she may be a little on the conservative side. It may say a lot about her personality in that aspect. You know, she's conservative. Maybe her workplace is a bit more conservative, so she's adjusting to that. So it may say some things. So, my afro, before locking my hair, for about a good 5, 6, 7 years even, I was able to make a living out of having this big, luscious afro. I did tutorials and held events, and you know, my afro eventually became a part of me, but in a sense, overshadowed my I am. And that's what I was starting to feel on the inside. I was no longer resonating with my afro on that level. I felt like separate from my afro, like my afro was a whole other character. She turned into a character. She wasn't me. And at this point, it was a very dependent relationship. I was very dependent on my afro, not only to make money, to make a living, but for attention. Like, I had to keep it real with myself. I had to be really honest. Like, I even, and this was like the beginnings of like my shadow work without even realizing it. But I had to ask myself, why is it that, you know, I never really wore my hair in headscarves. I never really wore my hair up in updos. If you followed me for a while, 98% of the time, my hair was always out in an afro. And there was a reason for that, because I felt that wearing my hair out and big would get me the attention that I wanted. And it did. I would walk down the street and people would just be like, oh my God, your hair is so pretty. I would go to events and boom, my hair just sticks out like a, whoo, you know, it has presence. My hair had presence. So there was a different kind of attention that was given from that, from walking into an event. Different comments, you know, social media, in real life, and all of that in between. My afro was like the center of everything. And as I started growing as a person, just as a person, as I started growing and spiritually growing as well, I started that way of being, although it was subconscious, that way of being did not resonate with me anymore. I don't care what I was doing for as my career. I didn't care about any of that. It just didn't resonate. And I was ready for something different, and locking just felt like a natural transition, although I never made a decision to, like, I never planned on locking my hair. Ask me 8 years ago when or if I would ever lock my hair, it would probably be two answers. Two answers meaning no, absolutely not. I love my afro. I love my curls. Or maybe when I'm about 50 years old. And I see that being a common theme with a lot of women who make that spiritual decision to do so, because a lot of them, I watched a few videos say, I thought I was going to end up locking my hair at around 50. I don't know why 50 is that age, but it's like 50. So I felt that way. And that all changed through spirit. After coming back from Costa Rica, I was like, I'm supposed to lock my hair now. So that's what got me to go into that process of doing that. So then I decided to do the twist out, let it lock from there. I gave myself about 4 to 5 days. And I grew very impatient. So from that point on, I decided to play around and try interlocking with the crochet needle. And I tried to force my locks to lock earlier. So I remember driving all the way to Michael's. It was like late at night. I was trying to catch them before they closed because I was so eager to like get started and creating like locks, because it was taking too long. Meanwhile, it was only like about 4 or 5 days. So I did that. I tried the crochet method, and it sort of kind of worked. It looked a little bit more locked than it did before. Okay. So I did that, and then that wasn't good enough for me. Now I'm looking in the mirror, I'm dissecting my hair, and I'm like, okay, this length, I'm not really feeling it. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to go out and buy some human hair, some human afro hair, and I'm going to put lock extensions in my hair. That'll do it. So I went from crocheting my locks to getting some hair to add on to those crocheted locks. And I did that, and it was actually successful. It looked pretty cute. And I was rocking my crocheted extensions for like a good week. And then my birthday was coming around, and one day I literally woke up and I looked in the mirror and I looked at my locks, and I felt like a fraud to myself. This is not judging anyone else who decides to manipulate or put in faux locks or anything like that. This was my journey, and this is not why I made the decision to lock my hair. This is why it didn't resonate. I felt like a fraud in the mirror. I said, you locked your hair to do this? Then I had to question. I said, why am I doing this? What is this process telling me about myself? And I had to be really honest, and not only being impatient, but being insecure and extremely dependent on the look of my hair. And I had to be real with myself about that. I said, I'm trying to make it longer, faster, and I'm trying to make it lock faster so that I can get a specific look that I want, even though that has absolutely nothing to do with the reason as to why I decided to lock my hair. So what's up with this? So I really had to dive in and challenge myself with this honesty, because I didn't really like the way it felt. I was just like, I felt disappointed in myself. I was just like, what's the problem here? Like, why can't you just allow the process to happen? So I realized that I was treating my starter locks exactly like my afro, because it was so new to me that I still didn't fully wean myself off of that predictable relationship, or that specific relationship that I had with my hair in general. So I just said, you know what? I made the decision September 15th, the night before my birthday, and I cut out all of the extensions, and I combed out, one by one, I combed out the crocheted locks, and I had my afro again, and I kept one lock, and which is actually my longest lock. It's this lock. So this lock is like from the original, like the before taking out the lock. So it was this lock that I kept, and I let the rest of my hair grow, go back into afro form. And the very next day on my birthday, I said, this is the first day of me making a decision to actually freeform wholeheartedly. And I am ready for this journey. I am ready to face myself in this process and learn more about myself, because I know that this is one of the many reasons, and I'm no longer going to run away from what this process has to reveal to me about myself. And when I did that, I felt really good. I felt liberated. I felt proud of myself. And then time started moving along. So getting through the impatient part, it was hard for me. But that wasn't necessarily that hard. What was the hardest for me was the process of freeforming in general. I had no idea what I was in for. I had no idea what my hair was going to do. So after a while, my hair, to me at least, it was looking a hot mess. It started looking unkept, as it always does in the beginning of a freeform journey. What I would say is, it's kind of like that homeless look. It's just, like when I would go out, I felt like people were looking at me and wondering, like, is she going to comb her hair? Like, is that on purpose? Like, I felt like people were just confused, like just kind of sideways head, like, okay, I don't know exactly what you're doing there, but peace on to you. So whether they were thinking that or not, none of my concern. But according to my conscious and what was going on in my head, everyone was saying that. Everyone was looking at my hair. Everyone was trying to figure it out. So I was extremely self-conscious. So with this and being self-conscious, I decided to wear like little little bands, headbands, scarves, hats, wool hats. It was fall going into winter. So I would cover my hair up. I said, well, this will do it. This will do it. And then I had to come in and do another self-audit. I said, why do I feel the need to cover my hair right now? So again, I'm just walking you through my process, but to those of you, as well as Tangeray, when you start feeling these heavy feelings about your connection with your hair and you being self-conscious, take a moment to just stop for a second and go beyond recognizing that you're self-conscious and just ask yourself a question. Why is it this serious to me right now? Why do I feel like this about my hair? And why do I feel like this about myself in this moment? These are just good questions to just ask yourself. Because when I say, when you hear your answers, it's the truth. It's the truth. So what I realized is just, again, insecurity popped up. It was just like, damn, girl. Like, ain't nobody checking for you like that. First of all, the whole, like, people got other things to focus on. You really think that the world literally revolves around you to the point where when you go out, your hair is what people, that's what people are focused on and that's what they're talking about? First of all, I had to check myself. I told myself to get over myself. That was the first very real conversation I had. I was like, girl, get over yourself. Nobody cares. And that right there is the realest thing that you can tell yourself when you are feeling self-conscious about anything, whether it's your hair, whether it's your weight, your outfit, your teeth, whatever it is for you. When you start feeling like everyone's looking, check yourself, boo, and tell yourself that nobody cares that much but you. That will put you, that is your own slice of humble pie to self. Nobody cares. It's not that deep to anyone else. Trust and believe it's not. Because when I see people out there, I don't care. Like, it's a non-factor to me. So, okay. So, yes, that is real as hell, Casey. I was just like, nobody cares. So let's keep it moving. Now, what's the problem here? And I literally would have these conversations with myself, and I was just like, everybody's looking at me. No, they're not. Next. So I again, when I had these conversations with myself, the follow-up usually was me challenging that. So I said to myself, well, since this is a problem, then I'm going to challenge myself, at least for this week, little by little. Just challenge yourself to see what you can do. And I said for this week, I'm not going to wear any hats. I'm not going to wear any scarves. I'm just going to let it flow freely. And I did that, and it was extremely uncomfortable, but I got through it. And as I got through it, I started feeling differently because I was conscious now and aware of me being self-conscious and of me challenging myself at the same time. This is where I started feeling different. I was just like, okay, I'm already challenging myself, so I already know I'm not going to cover this up. Let me really take a good look at myself. So I would look in the mirror and I would have moments and I would just kind of go through my locks, my little budding locks, and I would just appreciate them. So I started to appreciate my hair and always going back to the why of why I chose to do it. And the why was enough for me. And I said from that point on, I'm going to treat my hair like a plant. This is now my plant. So I'm going to nourish it. I'm going to be kind to it. I'm going to nurture it. I'm going to feel good about it. I'm going to speak to it, talk to it, get to know it. Get to know each and every lock. Like, what's going on? This lock is acting differently from this one. Like, I just had to treat it as my personal plant. And when I did that, I started to see the beauty in the mess. And I went through this with my naturally curly hair, loose hair, I should say. And I even created a campaign called My Beautiful Mess. And I had people send me videos on showing me their beautiful mess, because in my natural, in my loose curl days, I was self-conscious then, and I needed to have perfect curls all the time. I started to question myself just like I did with my locks, and I realized that that I wanted to fall in love with my frizz, with my mess, and I started to actually see the beauty in my mess, the beauty in my frizz, the beauty in my imperfection. Only because I just adjusted my lens just a little bit. That simple adjustment led me to see the beauty in the mess. So seeing the beauty in your mess, it frees you up, because you're not, you don't feel pressured to change it. You don't feel pressure to feel like it needs to be different. You don't feel the pressure of adjusting and tweaking the outer part. You don't need to clean it up, you know, in order to feel good about it. When you feel good about your mess, and you see your mess as being beautiful, then shit starts to change. Everything starts to evolve. It's like a quantum leap of growth that happens on the inside as soon as you recognize the beauty in the mess. And that's with anything in life, your messy life, okay? Start to embrace that first. Acknowledge it, embrace it, and recognize some of the things that you've been able to overcome in this mess, in this messy circumstance here. Recognize how strong you've been in this messy circumstance and understand that there's beauty. You know, it's just like the rose growing out of the concrete. There's beauty somewhere. There's beauty in your struggle somewhere. If you're able to find it, then you're really able to transform in that moment. And the mess in itself disappears. And now everything just becomes beautiful instead. So I even stayed away from like using the words that I used to use in the beginning of my lock journey, like hot mess. Oh my God, my hair is looking a hot mess. And I took mess out of it. I said, this is not a mess. This is a process. It's not a mess. And how about I allow myself to actually start to pay attention to the process and see what the process in itself has to teach me as a person. So what I realized looking closely at my lock journey is that my lock journey, my locks was only going to be as good as me, as how I felt about myself. So what I realized in the beginning, the first 6 months or so, my hair started shrinking. Because when your hair has looser curls, the more shrinkage you get, because it's almost like an accordion. So the curls are like going into each other to catch on to each other. I also recognized that frizz was necessary to lock. So I needed to embrace the frizz in my locks, because the hairs have to kind of be all out of whack in order to find each other. So it's basically your frizz in the beginning of locking is literally your strands finding each other and eventually connecting and locking. So embrace that. Embrace that. So when you see all your frizz all over the place in the beginning of your lock journey, just know that it's just the strands trying to find each other. They're trying to harmonize. So allow that to happen. So when you start to put stuff on it to like make it less frizzy and, you know, doing things to your hair and like not leaving it alone, you are actually delaying your lock process. Exactly. Intertwine. You are delaying your lock process. So you claim you want locks, but yet you won't even allow your hair to fully lock because you're busy trying to cover up the frizz. You're busy trying to put gel and all kinds of products on it, laying it down in the beginning. And it's just like, no, the more you do that, the more you're going to eventually have to deal with this frizz again. So you might as well get through it as early as possible. Okay? So I saw the beauty in that process. It's the same beauty that I'm seeing in growing this tree here that I'm about to plant very soon in soil. When I got this, and I've been talking about my tree forever, but let me tell you, these roots were not here. Water brought on these roots. This was just a trunk No leaves were here. It's been in this water for about a week. These are the roots that came about. These are the roots here. So you have to root yourself into your journey in order to really get things going. And when you're doing all of these things and covering up, you're not allowing this process to happen. Without these roots, this will not turn into a tree. If I keep looking at these roots as ugly and I'm just like, ooh, what are these things? Let me cut these off. Let me cut this let me cover this frizz up. Let me cut these roots off. This may stay alive, okay, as long as it's in water, but it's not going to flourish into the tree that it's supposed to be because I keep cutting off the roots. So that was like my thing. I was just like, let me just leave my hair alone. So then my hair started shrinking, and my afro, I had long hair, and then literally my locks shrunk all the way like up to like ear length, from like here, loose, all the way up to like here. And I was like, holy shit, this is like, I was not expecting this. Nobody said this on the YouTube videos. What's going on here? So then I had to question myself about my attachment to length. Like, what's the deal with that? What's the deal? Do you not feel beautiful? Do you not feel pretty? You know, with the length that you once had is now gone, and it's all locked up, and there's budding going on. And it's interesting, the usage of words such as budding when we're talking about locks, just like plants or trees, budding and blossoming. So when your locks bud, there are these bulbs that form, and they look completely out of place. I actually think I still have some buds that kind of stayed. Like, this is an example here, these little loops that like stick out of your lock, so it's not perfect. Even when you go to the salon, you get these buds that'll be poking out all over your hair, like all over. So they like poof out, and they need to do that just like a plant. It's a part of the process. So it was just crazy to me. So long story short, what I started to realize is that as my hair was shrinking, it wasn't really shrinking. My hair was literally going within in order to grow out. And I said, oh, I'm now at this process of constantly being self-aware of this process. I'm doing the same thing my hair is doing. As my hair is shrinking or going within itself, I'm also going within myself. So it's like I'm like perfectly aligned with my hair, with the process of my hair and myself. And when I started to see it that way, I said, ooh, now I'm going to pay more attention to see if other things start lining up. So as my buds started to calm down and my shrinking completely stopped, now it was time. Now my locks started to form finally, and now no more shrinkage. Now it's time for length, which was my second year. My first year was about budding and shrinking, my full first year. My second year was about growth and length outward, or lengthwise. So what I realized is that just because my hair was shrinking, it didn't mean that my hair wasn't growing. My hair was just growing in a different way. What was happening, what happens with the lock is that your hair gets stronger. It's strengthening itself by going within itself. So you may see that on the outside as a bad thing or even an ugly thing. Like, what the hell is my hair doing? But if you're able to spiritually peep into that story, it's a beautiful one. It's a beautiful one. So my hair is shrinking and loving into itself and intertwining with the other strands, and they're like doing this dance, and they're just shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. That was growth. I don't care what anyone says. That was the foundational growth that all of this length coming is all because of that first year, because I allowed it to happen. Okay, so the shrinkage was the very foundation of everything that comes after. So then when I got into my second year, I started to finally see length, which was still, I was still in a negative with it because my hair was much longer before locking. So any little bit of length I saw, I was like, wow. But at that point, I didn't care about length, because going inward, as my hair was going inward, I started to care less and less about what my expectations were from my hair. So I just kind of let it be, and I just became the observer of the story instead, and just lived my life, right? So then my hair I started seeing growth and length, and I said, oh, so the locks start growing within before they start growing outward. Because what makes a good lock is strength first. Strength comes before length. And when you think about yourself, when I thought about myself, I said strength comes before length, even with me. Okay, so I was keeping up with my journey. And as we were going along, I also became more and more, I fell more in love like with my hair from that point on. And it's just been that way since then. So that first year was really hard because it was like breaking a really bad habit. Just a year long, it took a year to like really get through that process and be okay, becoming okay with it. To the point where my second year, I was just like, I love my locks. Even though they're only up to my chin right now and I'm in year 2, it doesn't matter. Like, these are my babies, and I've seen them grow from the very beginning, and I have an appreciation for them. So now, even till this day, being 2.5 years in, almost 3 years, it's still the same though. It's still the same journey. So every now and then I'll get like messages about my hair. Every now and then, like, I'm not married to anything, and I'm just going with the flow. My hair wanted to be retwisted. And I've never gotten a retwist because I've been straight up freeform. I wanted a retwist, but not because of the look. I actually felt like, I literally felt my scalp or my roots saying it needs to be, it's almost like weeds growing in a garden and the garden is choking the flowers and all of the stuff. You know, you kind of want to like whack the weeds a little bit. That's how I felt. That was my state of mind. I was like, it's time. I need some weed whacking here. It's not even about, because I can't, first of all, I cannot stand, for me personally, okay? I don't like neat locks. I don't like locks that look too neat and too done and too twisted. I don't want to see any parts. So it's not that I got a retwist because that's what I wanted, because that look is not necessarily the look that I prefer. But in listening to my hair, what I realized is that my hair was calling out for like a weed whacking. So I got my hair done. Y'all saw some of that. My hair was a little tightened up, and I couldn't stand it. I was like, I can't, hurry up and like get messy. Hurry up and get messy, because I can't deal with this retwist. But what I realized is that my mental clarity, like I needed to do that. I felt clear. Spiritually and mentally, I felt clearer after I got my hair done. And I said, oh, see, I listened to my hair, and because these are my antennas, literally, my antennas called for some kind of maintenance so the air can be clear for me, like it's just in general. So I was just like really funky and like cloudy. I wasn't in the right mind space. And as soon as I got my hair twisted, I was just like, ooh, I feel it. This is a reset. So now I feel like my hair would probably tell me to do this probably like once or twice a year, just for maintenance for that reason. So that's something that I connected with personally, with getting to know just my process, my hair, and realizing that my emotions, my mental state, and all of that literally reflects through my hair. It's interesting because when I was in Costa Rica, this woman, she had long locks. She was locked for about a good 7 years. And your hair tells your story when you are locked, because there is no shed hair. My hair has not shed. Like, there is no hair in the tub when I wash it. my hair does not shed. Every single strand gets locked in. So there's a different kind of record keeping that happens when you have locks versus loose hair. You lose your hair when you have loose hair. Locks, you keep all your shed hair. So all of the records from that old hair, that because our hair is or they are record keepers, the strands are record keepers from both inner world and outer world together. When you keep those records, you're able to see the progress by simply reading your hair as you would read a tree. So you know how we're able to tell the age of a tree based on how many rings it has, or there are other ways to tell the age of the tree without having to cut it down. But there are ways to tell the age. And when you will look at the rings of the tree on the inside, you can tell whether the tree was sick. You can tell whether the tree had a really bad winter. You can tell whether the tree had a really good year. You can tell so much about just the tree's state of being by reading the rings. Some rings are light. Some rings are really dark and healthy. Some rings are spotty. So it tells you a story. So it's the same with your hair. So when she showed me her locks, she said, see, you see this? And then she showed me all of her locks. She said, you see this part here? This is when I was really sick. And I was sick for like 6 months. And it's recorded in her hair. So there's a portion of her locks when she was sick where her locks started thinning. And then when she started to feel better again, her locks started to resume at the regular way of locking. So now it's forever embedded in her story that this year at this time I was sick. So your locks tell your story. So it says a lot. So when you're making all these changes, it's just like, oh, there's nothing to be ashamed of, because every part of the story matters. Every part of the story matters, and none of it is erased. You know, so it's a beautiful story if you just allow your hair to tell it. And I'm speaking to those who are locking their hair. Allow your locks to tell your story. So it's an honest story. If you're feeling bad right now, or you're feeling self-conscious about your current state of being, 2 years from now in your lock journey, you're going to be able to look at like towards the end of your locks, and you're going to be like, this is the time where I was feeling really self-conscious about, you know, my hair. I wasn't feeling too pretty. Like, and then there will be a recording of that somehow, some way in your locks. You will be able to look at your locks and know exactly at what point or what year you felt a certain way. So hold on to that. So what I'm saying is like, not force it, but just allow the story to play out and just get through it, because the only way to get through is through. There's no other way around it really, unless you just quit or cover up. But is covering up really, are you like the Mike's cousin that I talked about earlier, and you're not covering up, you're just switching it up because you just like telling different stories with your hair, right? Or are you covering it up and hiding? There's a difference. If you're putting extensions in your locks to say, hey, I just feel like switching it up, that's cool. Because when you take out those extensions, if you feel just as confident as you having those extensions, you know that you're switching it up. You're just doing it for style. You're doing it because you feel like it. That's a beautiful thing. That's a confident woman in her appearance who's just like, I feel like putting braids in today on top of my locks. There we go. But underneath, I absolutely love my locks. I absolutely love how I look with my locks. So it's sometimes, for some people, it just takes a little bit longer. So it's no need to beat yourself up. But did you put your braids in to cover it up or to speed up that process? I did that when I did my big chop as well. I spent like 8 months wearing wigs on top of my TWA because I didn't feel confident. I would have been lying to myself if I said to myself, oh, I'm just being versatile. I wasn't being versatile. I was literally trying to find ways to cover this shit up until my hair grew the way that I wanted it to grow. And when you do that, there's really no inner growth. There's no inner growth that happens when you're covering up the process or the story of yourself. So I say that all to say, Eliza said, I'm going to switch it up. Yes. So I say that all to say, pay attention to the story instead, and try not to get too attached to this moment in the process. I know it's hard, but there are ways to cheat through that mentally by simply accepting it. That's the only way. It's literally to just accept it. Even if it doesn't look the best, you've accepted that this is the part of the process, and I'm at an acceptance point where I'm surrendering to the process. So in this moment, I'm going to do my best to learn from this process as well as get through it the best way that I possibly can. And you just keep it moving day by day. And before you know it, you're going to be much further along in. And you're going to not only reflect on your hair, but you're going to reflect on yourself. So when you see hair as self and self as hair on your lock journey specifically, because it tells a different story than loose hair, if you see that direct mirror, you will appreciate the process even more. Even through the quote-unquote ugly stages, you will see the beauty in that. You won't be able to help it because you see the process as you. And you love you, don't you? You like you, don't you? So you accept it. There's just automatic acceptance when you start to see it that way. So yeah, just check yourself every now and then. And even Tangeray, by her just simply posting that honesty, that was a beautiful thing. It's just straight up self-awareness. She's not kidding herself. She's being real with herself. And that's necessary for you to even see the story in the first place. So you being self-conscious about your current state, where your locks are right now, it kind of is it's telling as to where you stand with yourself. It probably means, this is not like a reading all up in your business, but it probably means that you are in a stage of being self-conscious as a person. You may not be the most confident in yourself right now as a person, which is why you feel the way you do about your hair. Because if I were to take your hair and put it on my head and how I feel about myself now, I would absolutely rock the shit out of that hair. I would rock the shit out of those tiny little beautiful locks. I would just be like, honey, what? So you see the difference? It's just how you carry it. It's you owning it. So basically the message in you not feeling so good about your stage right now is because there's something in you that you're not owning. It owns you. You're not owning it. So look within and try to figure out, what is it that you're not owning within yourself? What is it? I had to be honest about myself that I needed a specific kind of attention in the room. And I didn't know that I was like that person. I was like, I'm not that girl, but I was. And I didn't realize it. So I was like, oh man, okay. Also, even another thing is being low maintenance. Like, the more, me just being a freeformer, I'm extremely low maintenance. And it's given me way more time to do other things. And not like focus, not even like fret or obsess over my hair. I don't know when the last time it was that I obsessed over my hair, constantly watching my hair. I had more free time. Like, it literally, I wash my hair once a week. No, I'm sorry. I wash my hair twice a month, every 2 weeks with my locks. I wash my hair every 2 weeks, which is on a Sunday. Every other Sunday, I wash my hair. That's my routine. And I blow dry it 70%, which takes me like 10 minutes. I only put shampoo, maybe a little bit of conditioner. I don't really need it. And I keep it moving. And for 2 weeks straight, I just wake up like this. And this is what I was looking forward to. I wake up like this. I have like, do you know that when I had my loose hair, it took me almost 2.5 hours on a wash day. And for me, wash day was like every 3 to 4 days. And it took me 2.5 hours. And I was just like, oh, I gotta wash. I have to detangle. I have to do the whole thing with putting product in. Then I have to get out and then I have to dry it. Because I'm not going out with wet hair. I don't like that look. And if it's wintertime, I damn sure ain't going out with no wet hair. So I have to dry it fully, which took about 40 minutes in itself. To sit there with a diffuser and for 40 minutes is annoying. And then I have my finished look. And then in 3 days, I got to do this shit all over again. I was just like, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. So wash day for me is a breeze. Everything is a breeze for me. I don't spend money on product. And that's that. So girl, just get through this process. Just get through it. You'll be fine. You will absolutely love the results from it. Eliza, dang, am I that girl? I love my big fro. I love the nurtured time with my hair though. But see, that's good and that's your perspective. With my loose hair, I didn't see that as nurture time at all. I wasn't that evolved within myself and my hair journey. I did not see it as nurture time. I saw it as a burden and a thing that I had to do in order to get the look that I wanted. That's how I saw my time with my hair. So we just have different perspectives on that. So you might not be that girl. You might just fully appreciate your beautiful fro. And that's cool. But for me, it was a job. Literally, it was a job too. Bria, I actually love wash day with my loose natural hair. It's time to connect with myself. That's amazing. I never saw my wash days like that. So kudos to y'all. Mayette, yes, and we were talking about this, Mayette. Yes, it was just too much. Yasmin, I really appreciate your input on this. I'm considering locks right now. Oh, really, Yasmin? Okay, well, we are here to support you. Let me tell you, and I will say that, and Mayette, because we had this conversation the other day, freeforming is different. It takes a specific kind of mindset to freeform, because the first year of freeforming, it will put you through the ringer. It is not a walk in the park. Exactly. It's not. I don't care. Even for the most confident person, it'll just be like, oh, this is a different process. Because what's happening in the freeform journey is a state of surrender that is really uncomfortable. Again, even for the most confident person. It's an uncomfortable surrender at first. Because freeforming, you don't know what your hair is going to look like. Because you're allowing your hair to literally just do what it does. That's it. You are trusting the natural process of your hair making the decision on how it's going to look. It's not up to you. I was surprised that I came out with these locks for my freeforming. I had no idea what it was going to look like. I didn't know how big my locks were going to be. So not knowing that for like a while, for like a whole year, because the first 6 months, my hair specifically, because I have a looser pattern, my hair took like 7 to 8 months to actually see locking. So for the most part, it was just messy curls. So I didn't know what those messy curls was going to turn into. So I thought I was going to Congo. I did have a few that were attached to each other, but they kind of grew into each other, so they morphed and changed over time. But some people look at my locks and they're like, they're kind of even, but they're not all the same size. some people don't believe me. They're like, no, you did something for your locks to come out that way, free-forming. No, I didn't. I swear I didn't. My hair made this decision. So, so that's the thing with free-forming. See, when you start semi or going to the salon to do your get your starter locks, you have an idea of like how many, first of all, you know how many locks you're going to have. Then on top of that, you have an idea styling wise on what's going to happen. With free-forming, you have no clue. You'll think it's going one way and it completely changes. And you're like, oh, these are what my locks want to do. Okay. So to me, there's a bit more raw processing and senses of spontaneity and excitement that comes with that journey if you're about that life. Because not everybody is about the freeform life. One thing you can't do is fake freeform. You can faux lock it and see how you like it, but you can't faux freeform. That's why I said, you know, this is one of the realest, when people say natural hair, oh, you want to talk about a natural hair process? You cannot faux freeform. Even with the curly hair journey, you can do things to make your curls look a certain way. You can use certain products and like, you know, do different things with freeforming. On top of that, even with loose natural hair, when you're growing it out especially, you can throw in a weave that looks exactly like your hair texture. You're like, oh, I can rock this for a good year and then take it out and then boom, you know, nobody will really know. But again, with freeforming, you can't even put in faux locks because it won't look right. It just won't look right because you have a natural order up here and then you have cultivation down here, and it's just like, and then on top of that, if you put faux locks on top of your freeform, you disturb your freeforming. And then you start to change up the pattern because you're covering it up. So if you're about that freeform life, kudos to you. It's a different process. But even, again, locking is locking though, and it's a process either way. It's just, what are you willing to, what process are you attracted to? Like Yasmin, like why are you making, okay. Let me reform the question. What is pulling you in to lock your hair? Like, what is that thing? Why do you feel like you're ready to lock your hair, Yasmin? I'm just curious. Because again, the reasoning is different. If people just doing it for style, you know, most people usually go to salon for that because they want to make sure everything is like the way they need it to be for the style that they want. Or people usually semi-freeform and they twist it up on themselves. And they turn those twists into locks. Thank you, Eliza. I was waiting to see if Yasmin was still on. If she's not on, that's fine. But I was just curious. So embrace it and surrender, I should say. So with that, since we're talking about locks, I will kind of show you guys. Feels like a hair video. I will post it before and after my first year versus now, so you'll really see the difference. But this is 2.5 years. Okay. You guys can see that. So there's 2.5 years there of freeforming that I absolutely love. Yasmin, I can't say I'm ready, but I'm feeling this hair thing is too much sometimes. Okay, so when you're overwhelmed, that's you. And I believe Tangeray even said the reason why she locked her hair really is kind of because she couldn't really deal with her loose natural hair. So if that's your thing, here's the thing. And you might be surprised in this. Those people who are locking their hair because they don't want to deal with the maintenance of loose hair free-forming is actually better for you. I would suggest free-forming for you, because when you don't want to, when I say I don't deal with my hair, I don't deal with it at all. When I went to go get a retwist the first time ever in 2.5 years, I was just like, how do people do this? How do people go and how do people be like, how are you in a salon for this long? Because some of y'all have like small locks, really thick hair, and y'all go in for that retwist every like 2 months. And I was just like, this is a lot. And this process is a lot for someone who don't really want to bother with their hair or be bothered with the processes of hair. So the going to the salon situation, for me, I don't enjoy it. Some people actually enjoy that. I don't enjoy it. I don't want to sit in the salon for 3 hours, you know, first washing it, then twisting, and then sitting under that dryer with locks. I was just like, woo. I don't want to have the patience for this process, which is why I freeformed. So I would say that if you want to be really low maintenance, and you also want to truly see a reflection of rawness from you, freeforming may be for you if you're up for the challenge. If you're up for the challenge. Hey, Linnea. Yes, girl. We've been talking about locks, I don't know for how long, maybe over an hour now. But if you're up for the challenge, I would freeform. Why not challenge yourself? I'm always going to be pro freeform. Always. Because the process is so beautiful, because I'm able to appreciate it. And I went through it, and I'm on the other side of it now, and I'm like, okay. Yeah, you know? But anyway, I'm rambling now, but I hope this helped some of you guys who are in your journey, whether you're free-forming, semi-free-forming, cultivated locks. Either way, locks are locks. And I hope, even for those of you who are thinking about it, think about your reason and be honest about your reason. And ask yourself the question, like, do I have commitment issues? Like, in 6 months in, would I feel like I want my loose hair back? Am I really over my loose hair? So be honest about that. I was over mine. I was completely over mine. I was like, I am so done with this loose hair. I'm done. So my decision was made, and I still to this day have no regrets. I never in these 2.5 years looked at pictures of my afro and said, oh, I wish, oh, why did I do this? Maybe I want to comb out my locks, because that is an option. Never, never. Yes, but literally you pack on loads and loads and loads of conditioner in your hair, and you just literally sit there with a comb and make it a Netflix week and just comb through your locks, and you're probably going to go through 3 to 4 bottles of conditioner. You're going to have a lot of hair that comes out because all of this shed hair is locked in. So it might take some time, but that's an option. Just in case some of you didn't know, you can comb out your locks. But anyway, thank you guys. It's always a pleasure. I haven't been in here for a while. I've been so busy with EDU. I'm trying to like balance the platforms. But we're going through a challenge right now. We're almost done with that as well over on that side. So I'll be a bit more balanced between both worlds. But I'm always in here peeping in at you guys, seeing what's going on, regardless. So yeah, and if you're thinking about locking your hair, or if you do have locks, let's have this conversation. More growth and reflective conversations on hair, because it's very important. This is my hair. It's this tree. It's the plant. It's my tree. So let's talk about it on a deeper level. Let's share some of your deeper stories with your locks here. Tell us a little, you know, what does your process look like, and what has your process taught you? Mayette, I know I wanted you to talk about it, so I'm nominating you, Mayette. I would love to hear about your lock journey. There are a few of you here. Christian, I know that you're 3 months. Could you make a video and share with us like what your 3 months have been like, and what have you learned about yourself within these 3 months if you have? So yeah, I look forward to seeing some of your responses as well. So anyway, thank you, and thank you, Tangeray, for being very extremely honest. Keep being that honest with self, because that is how you grow and get through all of it. So thank you guys, and I will see you later.